Welcome back to Rolling History. This week we're going to take the front axle off the car. We're going to put new Kingpins, new bushings all the way around and get it ready to go. Alright, so the Dodge is just about down to nothing. We're going to work on these spindles. I got some new Kingpins for it. So we're going to take out the spindles in the front axle, and then I'm going to take them over and have them Magnaflux just to make sure there's no cracks in them. And then I'm going to put some new bushings in them. Well, if they come back good, I'm going to put some new bushings and the new Kingpins, and we'll put it all back together, and hopefully it'll steer really nice. So let's work on that. Okay, out of all the projects on this car, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the easiest one. It's taking off this spindle here. There's really nothing holding it on, so I think it'll just come right off. There we go. Nothing to it. Now the other side might not be so easy, or it may, who knows. Okay, got it. All right, so the next step, we're going to take the front suspension off, and you can see it's not using the right bolts anywhere, not up here, and especially not over here in the front. So I'm just going to cut these off with my cutoff wheel and get the front suspension off. And then we're going to put some new bushings and new Kingpins on the axle. And I have a new set of bolts. But we're at the point now where we need to come up with what we're going to do about the paint. Are we going to clear coat it or paint it, or what we're going to do? So I got to come up with an idea, and I got to do it quick because I want to get this cleaned up and start putting it back together. We're running out of time. Okay, I had the bushings in the freezer all night just to make them shrink just a hair, just enough to make it so it's not hard to put them in. And so let's press them in. Well, that one's pretty loose. I'm gonna grab a little bit at the end. Okay, they're all in. All right, so I pressed the new bushings in, and the Kingpins don't fit. They need to be reamed just a little. So I'm at the very end here of reaming them, and we'll see how they fit afterwards. All right, those are about perfect. Barely any room just for grease in there. Okay, so for those of you that don't know what a reamer is, this is a reamer, and this is an adjustable reamer. So if you loosen this bolt and tighten this one, the distance between this point and this point gets smaller. And if you go the opposite way, if you loosen this one and tighten this one, the distance between the two cutting edges gets larger. So this is an adjustable reamer. You can buy them that are exact size that you want, but I wasn't exactly sure what size I was going to need, so I bought an adjustable one. I got this at KBC Tools, and the thing with the reamer is, from my old shop class in high school, is that you never go backwards. I guess it ruins the cutting edge, so you always go forward with it. And this one seemed to work really well. So my Kingpins are nice and smooth and tight again, and that's, so there we go. Okay, now that I have all the new bushings in, I just have to put the spindles back on the axle. And I went to do this a couple weeks ago and noticed that these little thrust washers that go on the top here were missing. When I took it apart, they weren't there, and I guess that doesn't surprise me because they were barely hanging on there anyway. Maybe that's what someone needed from the car. So for now, we're just going to put these back on, and the front axle will be ready to go. Get my thrust washer. Put that on. Hold it all in place. And slide it down in there. These are brand new Kingpins that I got from Myers. And I had to find these shims, these little thrust washers used. Luckily I had a friend who has a lot of parts, and he found them in his boxes of stuff. All right, how does this go? There we go. So for the tie rods, I had a little choice. The top one is the one that was on the car. The middle one is one that was in the car when I picked it up, and the bottom one is also one that was in the car when I picked it up. So the bottom one was the closest, so I spent about 15 minutes in the press, and I straightened it a little bit more. And I mean, it's not perfect, but there's enough adjustment there to get myself some good toe in, and that's the one I'm going to use. So let's put it on the car. All right, the last step to putting together the front axle is going to be the tie rod. I had to remount my little bushings, my new bushings, a little bit to fit. They weren't quite exact. I got them from McMaster Car, and I think I knew that when I ordered them, but it's been a while, so I forgot about it. But it's ready to go, so let's put it together. Again, I'm just using that moly grease. I like that stuff for, I'm not going to be in here all the time, and I think it'll last a while. Man, this thing is fighting me every step of the way. I'm gonna need a hammer. So I got a little nervous about using the hammer on my tie rod end here. So I just took my crescent wrench, put it on the end, and then bent it out a hair, and now it's ready to go. And I'm sure I'll have to adjust this later on once I get the tires on there. But for now, all the bushings are done, all the kingpins are done. I don't have that silly bolt holding the whole front end together anymore. Everything's real tight. So it's pretty much ready to go, with the exception of a couple adjustments when I get it all put together. All right, so here's the front end. It's all hooked up, ready to go. It's nice and smooth both ways, much better than it was before. And I'm just gonna set it aside, and hopefully in the next couple weeks my plan is just to pressure wash the frame and then start assembling the car. So once I have the rear axle all put back together, I'll take the frame over, pressure wash it, and then we'll bolt it all back together. All right, thanks for watching this episode of Rolling History.